Chemistry careers, hydraulic fracturing. You might ask, what is hydraulic fracturing? Hydraulic fracturing is a process of injecting chemicals and liquids at high pressure which fractures rocks beneath the Earth's surface to extract natural gas or oil. As you can see in the picture, the water goes down and through the pipes and fractures the rocks to extract natural gas. So Mike, what is your occupation and what do you do?
Okay, my occupation is completions engineering technologist, and a portion of my job, a rather large portion, is hydraulic fracturing operations, which has a lot of chemistry involved in it.
How does chemistry relate to your job?
Yeah, chemistry is a huge part of hydraulic fracturing. In order to hydraulically fracture, you need to be able to suspend the sand in fluid.
What machinery and processes do you use to suspend sand into fluid?
Okay, so as you know, there's a lot of chemicals involved. So the first piece of machinery is called the blender, and that's the unit that the fresh water is drawn into there and the chemicals are all added to, and that creates, well, when that machine is done with it there, it's got our crosslink fluid there, and it's also the same spot where the sand is added. And then that transfers that sand and cross-linked high viscosity fluid into high horsepower pumps that pump at high rate into the well. And we have pipeline that ties into our well, and we have all high pressure equipment that can handle the high pressures required for hydraulic fracturing. And that fluid is then pumped down the well and into the zone of interest.
What chemicals do you use when suspending the sand into the fluid?
So to do that, there's three main components. We have base gel, which is a high molecular weight hydrocarbon.
Okay.
There would be cross-linking agents, which are typically compounds that contain zirconium or boron, and that bonds the high molecular weight hydrocarbons to even longer higher molecular weight hydrocarbons. And when that process occurs, it creates a lot of viscosity in the fluid, which is what carries the sand. And then the final component is a breaker. You want all those bonds to eventually break down so that the fluid thins back to water. And the most common breaker that we use are oxidative breakers, and they usually are some kind of compound such as ammonium persulfate, something along those lines.
What safety procedures and precautions do you have to take into consideration when dealing with these chemicals?
So normally before we actually execute any job in the field, from all the vendors that we acquire those various products from, we get a copy of the MSDS. We'll review them before the job, and normally there's safe handling procedures, which in the case of most of these chemicals is just rubber gloves and safety glasses, and sometimes, if you handle some corrosives, there are safety jackets and things like that. In some rare conditions, we'd actually have emergency safety showers on location if we're handling high enough volumes that it dictates it. If a worker is to get splashed, they could go into these shower units and shower off, kind of like an industrial lab would have, but a portable version of that.